Hello and welcome. My name's Ariella Indigo and I'm your host for the Multidimensional Human Experience Global Summit. The reason this summit has been created is due to the amount of us who are emerging spiritually, often right from birth, and due to our heightened sensitivities, it's now the case that more and more of us are being given reductive mental health labels and prescribed pharmaceuticals without taking into account our multidimensional natures and the spiritual awakening process itself. So through my own experience growing up and what I've seen with many others also, this linear third dimensional approach mostly serves to erode our self-esteem, dampen our natural intuitive abilities, and knock our confidence, which in turn gives rise to destructive behavioral habits like addictions and volatile emotional reactions, for example, because our realities are not being properly supported and the correct guidance not being made available. And sadly, as we know, some highly sensitive souls are choosing to leave the physical plane or are sadly not able to get up and running so that they can evolve into their higher purpose. Again, due to their sensitivities and the lack of solutions available which take into account our multidimensional natures. So this summit looks to address these issues and raise awareness about multidimensional humans, to give fellow empaths, light workers, starseeds, sensitives, and really anybody who's watching this summit some support so that we can confidently align with our highest potential and make a positive impact in the world during this critical stage on Earth and in humanity's evolution. So in today's interview, I'm honoured to be joined by Dr. Edwige, who's a metaphysical practitioner, light code activator, author, and spiritual advisor. Dr. Edwige uses ancient star language in her work, reaching deep into your core to clear old memories and programs and activating your higher consciousness. In service to humanity, she's become self-actualized, receiving her light body and ascended. She's come to assist and guide us through the many processes of ascension and to usher in the feminine healing necessary for the great shift. Her award-winning book, You're Not Crazy, You're Awakening, will change the way that you see awakening whilst answering the age-old question of, are we alone? Dr. Edwige, thank you so much for being here and a very warm welcome to the summit. It's truly
thank you. Thank you. Ariella, what a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on today. Indeed. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And your intro, is brilliant because that is so true. So many people are feeling out of sorts, aren't they? And so what a beautiful thing to create this safe space to come to get some information so that you're really not crazy. You are multidimensional. And in that, all of this is starting to awaken within you. What do you do with it? So yeah. Brilliant to you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, I love the title of your book. Can totally relate to that one. And I'm sure, all of our viewers are the same. We're being definitely challenged to open up and to shift our mindsets and open to our multidimensional natures, which can be quite confronting at times, as we all understand.
Yes, indeed, it can be. Yeah.
So really important to speak to you today, and somebody who has been there and can help and give some support and enlightenment to the process that many of us are now going through. And I'd love to start off, if I may, because I always just find it fascinating to hear, and I know many of our viewers do, and you have got one hell of a story. And I would really love it if you would please just talk us through your path of ascension and awakening in this lifetime.
In this lifetime, absolutely. And I'm glad you said that, because as the beings have so informed me, I have done this in all the golden ages. So as the mother, and I'll get to that later, in this lifetime, coming in with fourth dimensional consciousness and no life lessons. So I came in awake. And so imagine a little girl, 6, 7 years old, being able to see ghosts. I could see spirits all the time. And it was normal and interesting. Growing up in South Jersey, my parents built a home on 5 acres there. West Indians that somehow found this land in the middle of ley lines with a portal that would open every 100 years. Talk about divine. And so it was normal for me as a little girl to wake up in the middle of the night, see a spirit standing in the hallway, walk around her to go to the bathroom. That's just how common it was. But then I remember I was about 12 years old when I was awakened by this energy that had much more intention, not like the ghost just standing around, but this was a dimensional being, actually a part of the Council of 12. And there he was standing at the foot of my bed, tall, almost transparent in his lack of color, right? In a long white robe, a narrow face, a very small nose, very high up on his head, ears, and small. And before I knew it, I was out of bed, looking down at myself sleeping, and very consciously aware of myself above me, watching. And out my bedroom window, I went with him, flying into the stars, literally going into the cosmos, looking at creation. We would then dive, well, we'd land on a bridge and then dive into the depths of the ocean. And this being visited with me for 6 years.
Wow.
So every few months in he would come. I mean, there were times when I would float down the hallway, literally energetically grab my pillow. No, I don't feel like going. What are we going to see now? And I'd grab my pillow and energetically I'd be holding my pillow still,
Wow.
going down the hallway into my parents' bedroom. I could see them sleeping and I'm like, wake up, wake up. And they wouldn't. And out their window I'd go. So, I mean, this was my experience for, like I said, those 6 years. And quite honestly, it continued until my dad transitioned. So I was about 18 or 19 when my dad died. And you know, life happens, right? To all of us, and we may have some experience that shuts us down, if you will. And so that was a traumatic experience for me. And I'm like, okay, and it shut it down. But then I was right around 21, 22 when I was in California, and all of a sudden there was that familiar energy, and I opened my eyes and there he was with what I perceived to be a clipboard, and we communicated telepathically. And I said to him, what are you doing? Hello, you know, why are you here? And he said, checking your progress. Now, at that time, I was clueless as to what I was supposed to be progressing to.
Right.
But life was going on. And, you know, for me, I wanted to be a singer, so I pursued that. So let's fast forward. Now I moved to the Las Vegas, Henderson area of Nevada, you know, to pursue my singing. And yes, I was singing in all different casinos and shows. I got to perform at the '98 Super Bowl, and I've performed at Madison Square Garden. So, I mean, just wonderful, wonderful opportunities. And in 2004, I was studying. So don't get me wrong. I still remained very spiritual. I mean, I prayed and always stayed connected, knowing the source and knowing the truth about Yeshua not being born in a stable and all of these things, because my mom was a Rosicrucian when I was growing up a little girl. And so my mom meditated every day. And so every day us kids knew to be quiet, mother's meditating. And literally when she would meditate, and go into this energy in front of us. I remember one particular time she put a bowl of water in front of herself at the table, and she sat there, closed her eyes, and the water in the bowl began to ripple. That's my mom. She's 87 today. She's still alive and well and very much can see everything. So it was in 2004 that I was actually en route to a photo shoot where I was in a car accident. I was rear-ended at over 100 miles an hour. I left my body. My life didn't flash in front of me, right? I was in this beautiful golden white, well, mostly white holding space like a room. And I'm like, whoa, where am I? There was no one there, no picture, no people coming to visit me, none of that. I just heard a voice say, "You are there to be the light." And I'm like, okay. There was never any resistance on my part because I always was very spiritual. I mean, I was 12 years old when I was reading Ernest Holmes' Science of Mind. I started reading these things at 12. Back to Eden, which is all herbs, and I would make herbal concoctions at 12 and 13 years old. I mean, it was just the normal thing for me. I didn't know anything else, right? So if someone was sick, I went to the shop and I picked up different herbs and I'd make concoctions and treat them at 12 and 13 and 14. I mean, that's just what I did.
Yeah.
So, so the car accident is done. I'm back in, in the car now. I think the second or third impact. I'm now holding the steering wheel and I look at my mom, who's my passenger, and her seat had fallen back. And I said to her, "Mom, why is your seat so far back?" And she said, "Sweetheart, we were just in a car accident." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Well, I tore 2 discs in my neck. So considering the impact of the accident and that there was no back end left of the vehicle, we were held in the light. And it wasn't supposed to injure, it was supposed to awaken. And it did that. And so shortly thereafter, I started saying to my husband, "There's something I'm supposed to be doing and I don't know what it is." Everyone listening today says that.
Yeah.
Everyone. That's your light body beginning to connect with you, folks. That's the first telltale that you are on the ascension path, and your light body, that part of you way up here that's ready to descend into you, is beginning to communicate with you. That's the trigger. There's something I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what it is. And I would say that to my husband every day. And he said, "Don't worry, dear. It's going to be revealed to you." Before I knew it, the things started to happen. So now this is where we're not crazy. We think we're crazy, start stuff to happen, right? So I remember this, the first time I'm laying there in bed attempting to sleep, right? I'm on pain meds and different things, and a still point of white light comes into my bedroom. It is so blindingly bright that not only do I see it with my eyes shut, but I open my eyes and there it is. And literally I'm watching this still point of light coming through the wall and coming to me. It stops right in front of me and turns to pictures. And I'm like, okay. Like a Viewmaster. I don't know if they have those in your country, but remember when we were little kids, they had the old-fashioned Viewmasters?
Yeah.
Yes. That's what it looked like, folks.
Right.
And so I said, "What is this?" And a voice said, "Testing." And I'm like, "Well, what on earth are they testing? Who the heck is this?" Anyway, so that was the experience. About 10 days later, an ultraviolet light comes into the room, again, blindingly bright. And I can see it, eyes open, eyes closed. It stops in front of my face. It turns into the pineal. I'm like, and then it starts to grow in intensity, and it's doing this, and it's growing and growing and growing. And all I could think was, oh my gosh, this is going to hurt. It's going to explode. And it ignites. And the burn hit my eyes so intensely that I shut them really quickly, and they were burning. It opened everything. I'm like, whoa, okay. I'm supposed to be able to see. That was my agreement coming in, that I would be awake for the awakening and to be able to see. Next thing I knew, a being, a Syrian woman, shows up and says, "We are ready to teach you meditate." I'm like, okay, you don't have to tell me twice. I'll start meditating every day, every night, right? And that was the beginning, folks, and all sorts of visitations. I would be touched like this in the middle of the night, the wee hours of the morning. Back then, my power number is my birthday, 413. So never fail, 413 in the morning, someone was showing up.
Right.
And so they would touch me. They would bring me to the Council of 12. They would come in and embrace me. I'd open my eyes. An angel would be leaving. So they were all so excited. Now, these higher realms, that I could see them, feel them, smell them, know they were coming. ETs would walk into my room, literally just walk through the wall. And there they would be working on me. And now I had these 6-dimensional beings that started working with me again. They were part of the group that came as a child that I wasn't even aware that they were around. just the one, but there were 6 of them. And now these 6 would come in orbs of beautiful colors, right? One by one, I'd see them come in, they'd surround me, they'd plug things into me, and they worked with me for the next few years. They're still here. They never left. Confirmation. But
Yeah.
they were, I mean, so purposeful, so purposeful. And so they had to get me tuned and tapped and turned on, right? So during this whole process, I started going to workshops like so many of us do. Okay, what is this all about? So I found myself at a workshop in Sedona, of all places, because when the Syrian said, these are, and I tell you, I felt like I was standing on the yellow brick road, and all I had to do was stand there, and the next thing would show up and show up and show up for me. It was so divinely guided. I just needed to trust and to be in my heart. And so back then I had a water store, an alkaline water store, because I found the way to heal thy body, right? And that happens to be the first initiation of ascension, is mastery of the physical self. So the car accident caused me to master the physical by finding, again, as a child reading back to Eden, it was time to implement the herbs and implement the things that I learned, adding the alkaline water, the decalcification of the pineal, and working on healing the body. So in my water store, the alkaline water store, people were coming in that were sick, and I would help them heal their physical body. How perfect was that, right?
Yeah.
And so that was happening, and I found myself at this workshop when they said to meditate, because one of my customers came in with this Merkaba stone and said, wow, I've never heard of this stone. It's really cool. It's called a Merkaba, or the Merkaba, as some say. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, interesting, right? Didn't pay any attention to it. 3 weeks later, I get an email from another friend who said, there's this workshop coming into town. They need a home to host this workshop. It's a Flower of Life workshop. Would you consider hosting it? You get to attend, obviously, the workshop for free. I'm like, okay, what are they teaching? The Merkaba meditation. I'm like, oh, yes, I think I have to host it, right? So next thing I know, all these people are in my home, and beings are showing up, and are like, oh, wow, this person is with you, and this being is with you. Literally, it was amazing, and that's when I learned the Merkaba meditation. And then the next thing I knew, I found myself in Sedona getting into the heart, living in the heart work. And there, a stranger walked up to me and said, are you writing yet? And I said, no, I don't write. And they said, oh, you will. And I'm like, no, I won't, right? And I ignored that. 6 months later, I'm here in Vegas, and I'm now attending a friend's event where she's speaking, and a stranger walks up to me and says, they want you to know how much you are loved. Are you writing yet? And I'm like, what? I said, thank them for all their love, and no, I'm not writing. I don't write. She says, you will. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Months later, I'm now on the phone. Someone wants me to talk to this guy who channels Michael. So I'm on the phone, and Michael comes in, and Michael says, it's within your blueprint you are to write. Okay. What am I writing? You'll know. And I'm like, okay. All of the experiences, I understand. And that's when the communication just turned on. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing inside voices and outside voices. And it was just phenomenal. And every time I had an experience, and because I didn't know, let me tell you, from night to night, I did not know who was showing up. Tell me about working through your fear, right? Learning how to ground, how to protect yourself, how to quantify who's coming in. I had to learn quickly, because when you first turn on and you don't understand this, everything's showing up until you can pass that astral world where the good, the bad, the ugly is all in that one place, right? And you're thinking because they can come to you, and because, they're not in the physical, they must all be good. So I got that hands-on lessons real fast. Let me protect myself. Let me figure out who you are, why you're here. Question everything. Yeshua said, question all things. Indeed. So I started journaling all of these things. And before I knew it, I had a book. I'm like, and there you have it. They even gave me the title. You're not crazy. You are simply awakening. And I've got it. I'm like, thank you. So even me going back to school, which was the last thing I ever wanted to do. But again, that outside voice, right, said, yes, you are. I'm like, okay. And I didn't even know what I would be taking, but I had the form on my desk. I went into meditation, and literally I saw the form in meditation and the line of what I was supposed to be taking illuminated. And I counted in my meditation which line it was down that was in gold. And when I was done meditating, I went back to my office. I counted down and I knew which line it was, and I was to get a doctorate in metaphysics. I'm like, okay, that's what happened and why I went back. And what's so brilliant, when I worked on my theses, I actually, again, they gave it to me, how to reprogram your subconscious. Why is that so important? I didn't know then. There are two ways to awaken, folks. You have a near-death experience like I did, even though my life didn't flash before me, and it causes things in the brain, it causes things to just pop open, or you have to reprogram your subconscious. And that's what they had me write my thesis on. And that's a part of the work that I do as Dr. Edwige, right? I know the steps to reprogram your subconscious, because that's what you have to do for this awakening and ascension. The first stage, if you will, is sort of like the transmuting, right? You have to transmute all of those dysfunctionalities that you've mastered lifetime after lifetime: lack, fear, guilt, shame, pain, doubt, poverty consciousness, not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy enough, I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm too thick, I'm too thin. You name it, all the programs that society has placed upon us lifetime after lifetime are still with us, and that inner child is unfortunately wounded, and that, if you're an adult, still not in your power. It's because you have these things that have to be addressed. How do we address them? We have to get in and transmute and rewire, right? Those neurons, those pathways. We have to create new pathways of positivity. So it's all a part of the process, and having to break the brain's barrier, if you will, to put in the new programs. So that's what I did my theses on. How profound. And so understanding that that's a part of ascension. And so as you transmute, because the whole thing is for you to be able to raise your vibration, right? So that you can hold more light. So as you begin to awaken, you're only like 30% light. But for you to get through all the stages of initiations of ascension, and there are 7, you have to get to 98% light, folks. Which means dropping the baggage, which means going into your heart, which means letting go of judgments, guilt, shame, all of that stuff that you have to let go. Begin to realize yourself as a god, goddess, and begin to remember that and act as if. So that's the process. So you have to transmute, right? And we do the work of transmuting. We use the violet flame. We use all the things to let go, to clear that stuff from us, to rework our brain, to understand that the mind is not you, but it's a tool for you to use. And then we move through that. And as we move through that, which is beautiful, then we begin to transform. And that was a beautiful stage for me, this transformation, because, oh my, I would pulse and vibrate all the time. I close my eyes and I see rainbows of colors, all these beautiful colors just spiraling around in my vision. And I could feel the electrical circuitry starting to work through me. I would hear tones and frequencies in my head as they're calibrating and syncing things up. And that was just amazing. And then the third stage is transfiguration. So all of my beings plugging me into things and working on me, right? 2012 was really, really, really intense. That was the end of the Mayan calendar. That was the beginning. of a new age. And so that was their timeline. They had to move me from 2004 in that car accident and all that time, prepare me, clear me, you know. And remember, I came in with fourth dimensional consciousness and no life lessons. And this is still the process and how many years it took. 2012, I remember, wow, for a whole week, I was hearing frequencies so loud that my husband and I would turn everything off in the house. And I'm like, it's inside my head. I can hear all of this. It's inside me. That's how loud it was. And one day, and this is so amazing, this happened in May of 2012. I opened the front door to pick up a package and I see the remains of a bird at the front door. And I just like, oh, okay, no big deal, you know, clean it up. The following week, the second week, my office in that particular home was upstairs. And when you walked up the stairs, there were double French doors to a balcony. And outside, we had a little fire pit and you know, swing outside. And there were the remains of a bird the second week. And I'm like, interesting, but didn't think of it. Now, the third week, I'm downstairs in the kitchen. The kitchen's at the back of the house, and I'm washing dishes. I hear a rustling noise out back. So I stop, and I look at back, and a hawk is looking at me, and it's sitting on top of a bird. I'm like, okay, fine. You've got my attention. What's up? So I go run and look at the spiritual, metaphysical meaning of a hawk. To rise above, to be a forerunner, all of these amazing things, right? So 3 weeks, 3 birds, the hawk. That night, I'm awakened at 333 in the morning. Kuan Yin and Yeshua are in. I'm encased in this healing emerald ray. It was like glittery green energy. And I'm like, what on earth is this? And they said, prepare. So I just went into deep prayer. And that lasted, I don't know how long that lasted. Got up that day, still hearing all the frequencies, you know, really fine tuning within me. Then go back to bed, right? 333, I'm awakened again. And now this time they say, you have attained Christ consciousness. I'm like, whoa, this is getting deep and serious, right? Because isn't this what we're all working towards? Yeah. Being the Christ, having the Christ light in. I can tell you there's so many different experiences happened. I mean, during this time, literally, I found myself one morning chanting. And I'm like, well, I don't chant, right? And I'm chanting. The next thing I know, I'm standing there and literally I'm bleeding. There's blood coming down my eyes, my ears, my nose, energetically speaking. And I'm like, okay, what's this? And I knew the sins of our fathers carry through the DNA. The blood represents the DNA. It was purging and purifying. I'm like, whoa. Then I continued to chant, and now I'm up out in the cosmos, and this giant being, Metatron, says, I am the gatekeeper. You are the key. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Okay, talk about innocence, right? And the next thing I know, I'm looking and here's the nebula. I'm like, this is creation. And this tube about this wide, all of a sudden is right above my head. And imagine, if you will, this tube made of leaves. And they were all in this magenta, violet colors, but they had a glimmer of gold sheen, and they were overlapping each other all the way straight up. And all of a sudden, all of these energies and new codes and keys all descended and came into me. I'm like, whoa, that was deep. Then in September of 2012, as I lay there so many times with all the visitations and all the things happening, all of a sudden I felt like I was pinned to bed, and I became extremely electrical. You know, I remember when the beings, the 6 of them, came in May, and literally every hour on the hour they plugged something into me and I would jump. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sleeping at all tonight, am I? And the next hour they came and plugged into me again, and then the next hour and the next hour. So it felt like that very, very electrical. And I lay there and the colors were spiraling really fast. And I'm like, whoa, something's up. I look up, and way up yonder is this blindingly bright still point of white light. And it began to descend. And as it grew closer, I could see that it was the form of a body. It was my white light body. Now, you know, you have the blue one and the violet one. You have all of these different early on light bodies that probably everyone that's coming to this call have. Those are the bodies for purification, right? They're preparing you. That white light body you will see actually move in. It's like an event. At least that's how it happened for me. And I have activated light bodies on people, the white light body, and literally it's outside and it moves in. I've seen it. I've done it on people when they're ready. So it took about 10 to 12 hours as this body descended in. And when it was finally right there and started to merge into me, imagine feeling like you're about to be electrocuted. It's moving in, you feel it moving in, and you feel things moving out the way to make room for it. That's what it like for it to move into me. And I just laid there, not able to move as it is doing that. It was so amazing. I stayed home probably for a month, just integrating this energy, getting used to it. Also, because of who I am, within me, all of the templates for the divine blueprint, the original blueprint for all the star seeds, whoa, they all turned on. So that's probably why it was so energetic for me too. They all turned on. Able to activate every star seed's blueprint, regardless if you're Syrian, Palladian, Octorian, matters not. I can activate. That's the job of the mother. Whoa.
You were going to tell us about the mother as well. Is that?
It's coming. Whoa. And here it is. We're turning on to activate. Whoever is ready.
Okay.
So, okay. So that was that. 2012, my body moved in. 2014, I found myself on Mount Shasta. And Mount Shasta, literally a veil came in and split the dimensions, and I walked through all 12 levels of 5D with my eyes open. And that was phenomenal to be able to see, like you have on 3D glasses. That's what it looked like. And I could see through everything. At one point, as I'm standing there saying the Lord's Prayer, pacing back and forth at the side of the road, right? The Lord's Prayer grew faster and faster off my tongue. It went up to the heavens, and one by one, the rays of God descended into me. If you don't know what the rays of God are, they're principles that one must master in this path of ascension, right? Divine will, divine illumination, divine cosmic love, divine healing, all of it represented by a color, whether it be blue or yellow or green for healing, the violet flame, all of these are the principles of source energy. And one by one, they descended into me. After that, get back in the vehicle, we drive a little further. I step out of the vehicle because I need to anchor again. And there, lo and behold, is the kingdom. The kingdom appeared to me, this emerald city with a big golden path. And I'm standing there right in front of it. All I could do was say, whoa. I was in shock to be able to see that. And the person who brought me there, she says, Edwige, no one gets to see the kingdom, but that's who you are. And then when I got back into the vehicle, my left hand began to turn violet. And she says, oh my, the violet flame is ready. And so I stood out the vehicle the next time, and there hovering above me was the violet flame, and that descended in. So that energy is around because my work is to clear, to calibrate you, and we can transmute it, right? The violet flame's in. The flame of transmutation. Absolutely. Brilliant. And more happened, but let's move on, right? Because there's so much more to that, even that story. So that was 2014. Now in 2015, I'm guided that I'm supposed to go into sacred ceremony. you know, again, these things just come and I hear it, whether it be the inside voice, the outside voice, or the knowing that really started to turn on at that point. So 2015, at that time, it's supposed to be 9 people. So 9 people, including myself, were in the desert. And I'm guided to sing the 72 names for God. In fact, you can't really see it clearly, but standing right there on the wall are the 72 names of Source, of God.
Yeah.
So we created Metatron's cube out there in the desert. I stood in the center and I sang the 72 names. They toned out of me. The mountain shook. Dragons came into witness. Beings came into witness. It was amazing. It was a 3-day ceremony. That was the second day. And on the third day, we were back to close the circle, to close the ceremony. And I'm sitting, if you will, if you can imagine this, I'm expanded and gone, and I'm literally sitting in Source energy, in the heart of Source, of God. And I can hear some of the people, because, you know, there's 9 of us, and they're sitting in their meditative state, and they're like, Edwige, come back, you're so far. And I'm like, And then I heard another one say, oh, leave her alone, she's fine, right? And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to go back. This is just so beautiful to be here in this pure love. I can't even explain how expansive. You feel like liquid, like you don't have a body, because you don't, right? It's just this vehicle to be this energy. And so all of a sudden, I go to stand up and I can't. And they're all looking at me. My feet are curling as this council of 12 descend. And my I am, who is the cosmic mother, began to descend and was moving into me. It was my I am began to move in on Mount Shasta in 2014. It really anchored in, and literally I could feel her, this divine feminine God, moving into my body. My feet were curled so I couldn't stand up because she was still easing in to me. And finally, when I was able to stand up, I spoke the light language for the first time in this realm. She was so upset that she was pointing, and I'm saying she, right? It's the only way I can describe it. Just so upset with how humanity has treated this planet and each other. She was so upset that 2 of the ladies in the circle started to fall. The energy was coming so strong, it was about to knock them, and 2 gentlemen had to catch them so that they wouldn't fall. That's how powerful this energy is that comes through. And so she finally settled down, and I went to each person, and that was the first time I started moving my fingers in symbols, and I'm like, whoa, okay. And you know, when you channel, you move out the way and that being moves in and takes over. This was not channeling. I am the embodiment. There is no separation. I can go right into the language now. There is no separation. It is who I am at this highest level of my being, because of what happened and the program or the project of letting the masculine energy reign and the Piscean age, the divine feminine left. And I tell you, when she moved in, then all of the cosmic mothers. So in all the universes, there was but one divine masculine energy. But each universe has a cosmic mother, that peacock energy. Of all things, it's the peacock goddess. And I didn't know that when all of a sudden I was told that my power animal years ago was a peacock, and that all these things were happening and that there were peacocks all around. And little did I know, it's because the cosmic mother is also known as the peacock goddess. So I get up and I calibrate and start working on them. That's 2015. Then 2016 was my 54th birthday, a 9, in a 9-year. And the home that I lived in at that time, I just moved like literally a week ago. So that home was a 9, 1053, 999. It was amazing. It was the completion of the 7th initiation of ascension. And literally, there were 12 people for this ceremony. And we sat in a circle, and those that were ready, the mother spoke, and they lifted up through the eye of the needle. And I lifted them. She lifted them up through the eye. They could feel it, see it, know it. 5 of them were ready and moved right up. Well, I continued to ascend for 3 weeks. My assistant had to reschedule all of my clients. I couldn't do anything. Oh my gosh. I felt like I was walking in a bubble like this. That's how expanded I was. Barely anything physical here. And 3 weeks to the day, I hit 9:30 at night. I hit where I was going, and I could feel it. And I ran into the bedroom. My husband's like, he came running in. What's wrong? Are you okay? I said, dear, leave. Just, you have to go. I became so energetic. I could feel me being pulled apart. I could feel me really everything breaking down, coming completely apart. And then I was gone. And I blacked out. And when I woke up the next morning, I had fully ascended into my God self. And from that point, 21 days later, was again a calibration, and now my God self merging completely with me in the physical. During that time, the other cosmic mothers all connected. It was like a web of blinding white lights hitting me all at my head as I could see them all connecting, and we connected that grid. Sonnet Kamor came to me during that time. The ascended masters came to me, welcoming me home. In fact, my husband saw the little people that I saw in Mount Shasta, right at the kingdom. The little people came, and he says, who are these little midgets walking around? I said, no, they're not midgets, they're the little people. He's so funny, right? And I went into meditation, and there they were. They brought me to the kingdom, and they welcomed the mother back, and they placed me on a throne. And they brought all sorts of gifts to me, the mother. Oh my gosh. And that is the embodiment that I am, the cosmic mother.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why all of the experiences. Because it's time for the divine feminine to walk the planet again, planting the seeds, showing why this has happened, how we traverse this path, right, to regain and remember who we are as divine beings and to step back into that. So talk about, you know, we always question things, right? And we're like, is this real? Is this really real? And I'm no different in that. So last November, I had to go do sacred ceremony on the land. And so I was in Sedona with 2 other ladies. We rented a condo that had a garage to it. And so, you know, we park in the garage. The next morning we get up, I have something to take out to the vehicle. So I come walking out and the garage door is open. And I'm like, okay, who opened the garage door, right? So I run back to the apartment, and I said to the ladies, did either one of you already go out and open the door? And they're like, well, no. And we're like, well, didn't we see the garage door closed last night? Yes. I said, okay, but it's open now. And so the lady that oversees this work, she says, grab your phone and let's go back. Let's look for the signs. I'm like, signs? Okay. On that garage floor, and I'll send you the pictures later.
Okay.
On that garage floor were 3 pictures. There is a picture of Yeshua in his robes. You see his beard, you see his arms like this, and he's in his long robes, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's Yeshua. Then there is a picture of a peacock with the egg of life under its neck. And then I'm like, there's another peacock. Okay. And the 3rd picture is a picture of me. my profile with my ponytail, everything.
Wow.
And the ladies look and they're like taking pictures. They're like, this is unbelievable stuff. This is unbelievable. And one of the ladies, she actually she says, okay, Turd, I want your profile. She took a picture of it. She took a picture of me. She's like, oh my gosh. And in the picture, there are approximately 23 deities as the deities begin to return. And in that moment, there was no more doubt. And one of the ladies said, I asked for a sign. Here is the sign. You need not doubt anymore of who you are.
Goodness me. That is absolutely incredible. Whoa. What,
Yeah.
what an incredible life you
Yeah.
are living, an incredible mission you are on.
Yes. And the responsibility. You see, people will ask, well, what does it feel like? Well, imagine, if you will, that your life is completely changed, that you feel yourself as an energetic being all the time, that instantly, if you are near someone who is ready, you will, like when you and I first spoke weeks ago, right? There was no intention on my part to say, oh, I need to work on Ariella before I talk to her. There was no intention. However, what happened?
Yeah.
Right?
In that moment.
Yeah. And so that's what it's like. I am here to be of service, to clear, to calibrate, to leave the trail of light, and to turn on those pillars of light all around the planet.
What is your
so
feeling about the energies in this interview? Because sadly, because I've been absolutely riveted listening to you. I mean, it's incredible. And there's the questions that I would have asked around what is the multidimensional experience, I don't have to ask because you are the living embodiment and your story is a beautiful representation. But we've got 10 minutes left. What is your feeling? Because I know that you're picking up some very, very strong energy in this interview and why we've been brought together. Is there any insight that you can give us for people watching?
Well, so, those who are watching this, please reach out to Ariella afterwards. Reach out to myself, because you're going to have some sort of calibration. That's the job of, and quite honestly, this is the first interview where I have described in detail who I am.
Wow.
I'll say it, lightly, but this is the detail of how it all unfolded. So there are some special people who are coming to this call. Confirmation, and I want you to reach out. Again, this is about those pillars of light, and there are those 144,000 pillars of light that are turning on all around the planet, and we have to find them. We have to get you turned on, because you are what forms the grid around the planet. You're all placed in particular places around. And when you're all turned on, meaning your Merkaba activated, your Kundalini activated, your light body activated, so that your I am can move in. Guess what? You're what makes the shift, that shift. That's what we're waiting for. That's why the mother is here. So those on the call, I'm feeling that there's at least one, there might be 3 people, including you, by the way.
Me.
Yes, that is a part of that. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Now, and see this energy? Okay, so nothing to be fearful of when you're awakening. This is absolutely beautiful. This is why we're here, right? We are the ones that we have been waiting for. This is amazing, because we, folks, we are ending 3D as we know it, and we get to move back. As Lumerians, we were 7th dimensional beings. We created from the space of our hearts. We had consciousness in our hearts. And so that's what we're moving back into. So wherever you are, begin to tap into that. If you're hearing those inside voices or those outside voices, know that it's okay. It is who you are. I'll never forget I was in the shower and I was praying, and I was very, praying out loud. And then all of a sudden I started to have a very clear second thought coming through. And I'm like, well, that's really interesting. And then on top of that, I started to have a third completely different thought, analyzing the fact that I was praying and having another thought. I'm like, well, how is this possible? I'm multidimensional. Embrace it, embrace it, embrace it. I can tell you, the next hour I could spend on all of these types of experiences where I've had 3 distinct experiences all at the same time. Where I could be watching TV and sleeping and know what's going on and what I'm hearing on the TV, and be able to rewind my dream and be very real in my lucid dream, and be aware of my husband who's on the sofa laying there watching TV, getting up to go to the kitchen to get a snack, and tell you all of that all at the same time while I'm in a dream, rewinding it and playing the dream over.
Wow. That's incredible.
So that's who we are, and in the 3D, they call you schizophrenic, they call you crazy, they say you need medication. No, you need to step back into your power. And the thing is, we need to start to break away from the media, from the programming, right? Because they will continue to perpetuate it not in the light. They even make ETs and these movies making you fearful. There's nothing to fear. They don't want us to have these conversations. They, meaning the reptilians who have ran this planet for so long, their reign is over. The Piscean age is over. The reptilian brain needs to be cleared so that who we are as divine beings, our true essence, can awaken within us. So we have to begin to pull back our power. So don't give anyone your power when they say you need this drug and you need that. Oh, heck no. I was there. They tried to they give you medication for your pain. Little do you know, do the natural route. Vitamin C, magnesium will take care of your pain. You're just deficient in those things. So begin to educate yourself on what you can do holistically.
Great advice. Yeah.
In fact, as you begin to expand, 3D medication and treatments won't even work for you. So start to look at frequency, right? Frequency and tones and sound and color healing. These are the ways of us as multidimensional beings, not the old ways. It's so funny. I went to a friend who's a DO, and he has all this state-of-the-art things, or so he thought, right? So he's measuring my systems, right, on this machine, and he's like, how is this possible? You're flatlining on everything. Every organ has flatlined. I'm like, sure it has. Because it's 3D technology, and I'm no longer a 3D being. I've ascended. My I am is within me. So you can't measure it by 3D standards, right? So the key to this is making sure you're decalcifying your pineal. Take lots of magnesium, because magnesium feeds the body, and this energy that's so electrical depletes it. So lots of magnesium, lots of clean water. You can do lemon juice and hot water every morning and get that down, right? So all of these things, make sure there's no fluoride in your toothpaste, no chlorine in your water. All these things they've purposely put there to block you. So you begin to take back your power, begin to meditate, begin to contemplate, get quiet, get still, get off autopilot, begin to pay attention to where you are consciously aware in every moment. What are you creating? Because you are the creator of every experience that you are having, whether through intention or default. So begin to pay attention to your thoughts. And if you cannot control your thoughts, then reach out so we can do a session, something, and help you to begin to pay attention and get control of your thoughts and where you are, because that is what this process is all about. We have to gain control of the physical, right?
Great advice. Thank you so much. So much in there. I absolutely echo what you've just said. And I know, Dr. Edwige, you've got an amazing free gift that you've created for the viewers of this summit, which is also going to really help them, right? Would you just explain to us what that is?
Absolutely. Thank you for reminding me. So, the free gift is all about the 10 stages of consciousness. So understanding all of this, there are processes to everything. I alluded to the 7 initiations of ascension. Well, within that are sub-levels, and this level is the 10 stages. So The first stage, for example, is the stage of survival. So how many people are still just paycheck to paycheck trying to figure out, how am I going to survive? Well, in this stage of consciousness, is there any room for you to awaken? Absolutely not. So that's really a part of being the asleep stage, right?
Mm.
And then the next stage, as you master that and you've got the security of a job and so forth, now the second stage simply is you now wanted to secure your future. And you're very aware of those people because they take out the life insurance policies and the annuities, and they're trying to figure out how they can secure their future for themselves and their children. So you can see these stages of consciousness. It's not until you get through the fifth stage, which is the letting go, the darkest night of the soul, that you begin to, in the sixth stage, actually move towards enlightenment, which is beautiful. And there are two awakening stages within enlightenment. And so within this audio, I share all the stages, the processes, what it looks like, what it feels like to move through it, and where you have to be consciously to get to the next stage. Because it's all about you consciously. You can no longer be awake, folks. I mean, asleep, excuse me, right? You have to awaken consciously, and you have to be awakened consciously 24 hours a day. Not just during this time, but even when you're sleeping, you have to go into lucid states and be aware, because you're actually in the fourth dimension. So what are your dreams showing you? When you go to bed at night, are you saying, team, come to me, show me what I still have to clear my karma? Because you know karma is clearing. So what are you doing about that? Are you still living in the old energies, or are you beginning to move towards the new energies and creating what you desire? So all of that you can work through in that sleep state. So there's so much, right? So yeah, understanding those
Wow.
stages, important.
That's incredible. Thank you so much. That's a very generous free gift, and I just absolutely encourage everybody to grab that free gift.
Yeah.
You can see Dr. Edwige has got a huge wealth of information about the whole ascension process, and I think that's going to be really, really educational for everybody. So please go and grab that. Please reach out and let us know what you thought about this interview.
Yes.
What was your kit? I mean, thank you so much. I mean, what a huge amount of information that you've given us. Thank you for sharing your story with us in such incredible detail, because you know what, there's a lot of people going through heightened experiences and having experiences that they just cannot make sense of. And like we've shared in this interview, there are doctors and hospitals which will give these reductive labels. I've had them in the past as well. And it doesn't take into account our multidimensional natures. So I just think it's been an amazing interview in terms of being the embodiment of that process, and allowing us to benefit from that process that you've gone through. And learn from that.
Thank you. And that really is what this is, right? It's to pay it forward. It's to share who we are and give everyone permission to have their full awakening. And to stand in your own power and give you permission to let your light shine.
Yeah.
It's until we are all wholly ascended and free.
Beautiful. Dr. Edwige, thank you so much. It's been an incredible interview. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in and watched this interview. Very, very powerful. Please reach out. Let me know, what is your favorite part of this interview? What have you learned? I'm sure there's many activations and insights which are dropping in. So it'd be incredible to connect with you on that, and to hear your experiences as well. Thank you to everybody. Thank you, Dr. Edwige. We have to leave it here, but love and blessings to everybody, and we will connect again soon. Thank you so much.